Welcome, Roomers and Zoomers, to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Ulysses Ayton, and I'm your worship associate today. I'm joined by Reverend Sian Wiltshire, our minister, in welcoming you this morning. Beth Syverson, our director of music ministries, is currently on sabbatical. Karen Magoon-Pearson, our Director of Religious Education, is currently holding classes for our children at Estancia Park. Please note on our screen all the wonderful people who made today's service possible. We also respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Ahachiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. Together we have a covenant that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in our spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. Later in the service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. Let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice as we say our Unison Affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our opening song. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you.
This morning we gather together. We arrive as individuals, as couples, as families, as neighbors, as friends. We got here maybe by walking, by biking, by riding, by driving, by logging in. We bring with us our joys and our sorrows, our laughter and our tears, our worries and our fears, our questions and our beliefs, our ethics and our values. Some of us arrived here early this morning, or joined us just 10 minutes ago. Or maybe you encountered obstacles on your way here, or will arrive just in time for the sermon. Or maybe you'll sign online later this week or even next month. We, all of us here, maybe we're sitting in chairs or leaning on walkers or canes, stretching in the aisles, our legs, settling in wheelchairs, or relaxing in recliners. We, members, friends, and visitors alike, come from many paths, and we join together as one congregation to lift up the highest ideals. We have gathered, so now let us worship. And as we begin our worship this morning, we're going to begin with a song called Nialapa. It's a traditional hymn from Madagascar, arranged and performed by Leila Simpson in Malagasy, the language Malagasy, which is the language of Madagascar. And Leila has been leading our choir rehearsals for the last 3 weeks via Zoom. And the choir learned that this song was used in Madagascar during the persecution of Christians and during the French colonization.
Nilapana, nilapana, jemani januivu, rini uluna, amen, hallelujah. Siumbia, lina, lina, izalma, tiusimasina, amen, hallelujah. Finarita amen, amen, mikuetaye, nanjamani, hallelujah. Finarita amen, amen, mikuetaye, nanjamani, hallelujah. Zaufile nende chizaude sami afaka mankau, amen, hallelujah. Zifumba namjemani janiza tabanuluna, amen, hallelujah. Finarita amen. Nilapana, zemani januivu, rini uluna, amen, hallelujah. Siumbia, lina, lina, izalma, tiusimasina, amen, hallelujah. Finarita amen.
We've had quite a really interesting adventure having people from Africa working with our choir since Beth's been out on sabbatical. It's been really wonderful. Our reading this morning actually is an op-ed that comes from Amanda Gorman. If you don't know who Amanda Gorman is, well, you might recall that she was the Youth Poet Laureate who spoke at President Biden's inauguration. And her poem kind of went viral, as they say. And she recently wrote this op-ed in anniversary of January 20th about that day. She said this: "It's told like this. Amanda Gorman performed at the inauguration and the rest is history. The truth is, I almost declined to be the inaugural poet. Why? I was terrified. I was scared of failing my people, my poetry. But I was also terrified on a physical level. COVID was still raging and my age group couldn't get vaccinated yet. Just a few weeks before, domestic terrorists assaulted the US Capitol and the very steps where I would recite. I didn't know then that I'd become famous, but I did know at the inauguration I was going to become highly visible, which is a very dangerous thing to be in America, especially if you're Black and outspoken and have no secret service. It didn't help that I was getting messages from friends telling me, not so jokingly, to buy a bulletproof vest. My mom had us crouch in our living room so that she could practice shielding my body from bullets. A loved one warned me to be ready to die if I went to the Capitol, telling me it's just not worth it. I had insomnia and nightmares, barely ate or drank for days. I finally wrote to some close friends and family telling them that I was most likely going to pull out of the ceremony. I got some texts praising the Lord. I got called pathologically insane, but I knew only that I could answer the question for myself. Was this poem worth it? The night before I was to give the inaugural committee my final decision felt like the longest of my life. My neighborhood was eerily quiet in that early morning dark, though I strained my ears for noise to distract me from the choice that lay ahead. It felt like my little world stood still. And then it struck me. Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. I closed my eyes in bed and let myself utter all the leviathans that scared me, both monstrous and minuscule. What stood out most of all was the worry that I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what this poem could have achieved. There was only one way to find out. By the time the sun rose, I knew one thing for sure. I was going to be the 2021 inaugural poet. I can't say I was completely confident in my choice, but I was completely committed to it. I'm a firm believer that often terror is trying to tell us of a force far greater than despair. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. And now, more than ever, we have every right to be affected, afflicted, and affronted. If you're alive, you're afraid. If you're not afraid, then you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear itself, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. On the morning of the inauguration day, I went through the motions of getting ready on autopilot, mindless and mechanical, doing my hair and makeup, even as I anxiously practiced my poem. On the way to the Capitol, I recited the mantra I say before every performance. I am the daughter of Black writers. We're descended from freedom fighters who broke their chains and changed the world. They call to me. Though I spent the next hour shivering in my seat from nerves and the unforgiving January cold, as I stepped up to the podium to recite, I felt warm, as if the words waiting in my mouth were aflame. It seemed that the world stood still. I looked out and spoke to it. I haven't looked back. On that January 20th, what I found waiting beyond my fear was all those who searched beyond their own fears to find space for hope in their lives, who welcomed the impact of a poem into protests, hospitals, classrooms, conversations, living rooms, offices, art, and all manner of moments. I may have worked on the words, but it was other people who put those words to work. What we've seen isn't just the power of a poem, it's the power of the people. Yet while the inauguration might have seemed like a ray of light, this past year for many has felt like a return to the same old gloom. Our nation is still haunted by disease, inequality, and environmental crises. But though our fears may be the same, we are not. If nothing else, this must be known. Even as we've grieved, we've grown. Even fatigued, we've found that this hill we climb is one we must mount together. We are battered but bolder, worn but wiser. I'm not telling you not to be tired or afraid. If anything, the very fact that we're weary means we are, by definition, changed. We are brave enough to listen and learn from our fear. This time will be different because this time will be different. We already are. And yes, I still am terrified every day. Yet fear can be love trying its best in the dark. Fear can be love trying its best in the dark. So do not fear your fear, own it, free it. It isn't a liberation that I or anyone can give you. It's a power you must look for you to learn, to love, to lead, and locate for yourself. Why? The truth is, hope isn't a promise we give, it's a promise we live. Tell it like this, and we, like our words, will not rest, and the rest is history. I want to invite you in a time of spirit of silence and meditation to consider these prophetic words. She said, maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. So take a few deep breaths. Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. So what are your fears trying to tell you? Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. When you're ready, please join in singing.
Please rise and join me in singing. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
All right, so pop quiz this morning. What do Darwin, the NAACP and marriage equality have in common? Does anybody know? Oh, she got it. Deborah got it. They all share the same birthday of February 12th. So from Darwin to marriage equality, that's over 200 years of our nation's history, and we've come a long way in that time. But let's go back to the beginning here. I just want to take you a little bit through a walk through history here and try to imagine Darwin about 150 years ago proposing the theory of evolution. Let me just first, I want to paint a picture for you all, because it's hard for us in our modern minds to really get into the mindset of the 19th century. So here in the Western world, science as we understand it, back in the 18th and 19th centuries, science was really around logic. Well, if this happened, well, I guess this must be happening here, right? Now, as modern people, we think of science as observation and experimentation, right? We take meticulous notes and try to take the person out of it and everything, right? At the time of Darwin, the Western world was just starting to embrace the scientific method, just starting to. The vast majority of people made sense of the world, though, more through what they considered logic and reason as they understood it. It made sense that there was this ancient text, right? It was in Hebrew, and it was the Hebrew and Christian Bible, right? And logically, it was old. It came from God, right? So it had to be history and scientific. God created the world in 7 days. That's what it said. I mean, how else could we have gotten here? Oh, sure, God maybe have gone away for a little while, let us to our own devices. That was the deist point of view. But someone had to have created all of this. That was the logic at the time. So along comes Charles Darwin on February 12th, 1809. He was born, and in his youth he was quite the partier, though he trained in the clergy, interestingly enough. His father didn't know what to do with him, so sent him off to the clergy. I'm like, haven't met many clergy, have you? But it was his voyage to South America that made him a scientist and researcher. Others had suggested something similar about evolution, but he was really the only one who had the experimental scientific proof of evolution. So again, imagine this. He's telling everyone that God did not create the world in 7 days, that woman was not made from man, and man was not made from clay. No, we come from monkeys. And if you go back even further, sea slugs. I hope you can imagine how hard this was for people to understand. It went against everything they thought. Like, are you kidding me? And when he confided his ideas to his fiancée, who was a staunch Christian, and he saw her reaction, he quietly put his books away for 2 decades. The shift it took for people to go from, I was created by a loving, if maybe fearful God, to you're the latest version of a chimpanzee, was kind of hard to swallow for people. As Darwin put it, he said, believing in evolution was like confessing a murder. And yet, despite it all, Darwin spoke up. Despite his being afraid for his career, his life, and that of his family, he said it was like a living hell in the months that he sent his manuscripts to the other scientists. He was, in fact, continually ill for most of the years that he worked on the manuscript, The Origin of Species, due to stress. So interesting enough, he reached out to a friend of his named Thomas Henry Huxley. Whoops, let me see, there's Darwin, and there's Thomas Henry Huxley. Now, Huxley was a fellow free-thinking biologist, and Huxley loved the debate as much as Darwin loathed the debate, and he threw himself into it. And doesn't he look kind of pugnacious? And he's like, yeah, bring it on, I'll debate with you. So while Darwin was actually rarely seen, he rarely gave lectures. It was actually Huxley who did most of them, and others. As his reputation grew, because of people like Huxley, the quiet, sensitive man drew a lot of protective admirers around him who argued for him. He didn't walk the path alone, and he encouraged others to continue his work, which led eventually, as you know, to the Scopes trial in 1925, and science won the day. As Amanda Gorman says, it's the power of the people. The power of the people. Now, I do want to point out that as brave as Darwin was, he was racist and misogynistic. He was an abolitionist. He definitely believed that slavery was absolutely horrible, but he also thought that blacks and women were inferior. we hold that as well as we hold him bringing us along in our understanding of ourselves as human beings, and we hold both these truths of Darwin. But like Gorman, he found that fear was telling him something, and so he spoke out so that others would be to feel free to be who they are, to think how they want as how they felt was right, and he didn't do it alone. So then, 100 years after Darwin's birth, came the birth of an organization that challenged Darwin's racism and created even more freedom, the NAACP, right? But you may not know that its beginning actually started a few years before, about 4 years before, by W.E. Du Bois. He's the Black American civil rights activist, sociologist, and writer who formed a group called the Niagara Movement, because they met at Niagara Falls, basically. Du Bois had brought together prominent black leaders to work on civil rights, but against Du Bois' desire, it excluded women. Unfortunately, the group didn't have a lot of money or influence, and quite frankly, I think because they didn't have a lot of women who do all the work, so it struggled to get off the ground. I'm just saying. And just as it was floundering, unfortunately, in about 1909, were the Springfield riots and lynchings that were happening in Springfield, Illinois, and appalled by this violence that was going on, black and white men and women came together on February 12, 1909, to form the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Building on the foundation of the Niagara Movement, the founders included, of course, Du Bois, but also Mary White Ovington, a white suffragette and abolitionist, put that up there, and Ida B. Wells, a black investigative journalist. Now, the NAACP's goal was to secure for all people, the rights guaranteed in the United States Constitution, which promised an end to slavery, provide equal protection under the law, and the right for all to vote. Accordingly, the NAACP's mission is to ensure the political, educational equality of minority groups, citizens, and eliminate race prejudice through democratic processes. You can tell I got that from their website. But Du Bois found that the fears others had about including women were wrong. So he set about changing that. And when he included others, whether it was white people and women, when they all had a common goal, that's when they accomplished so much. The NAACP has tackled so many freedoms that are guaranteed today so that all African Americans, women and men, have the freedom to be who they are, and they continue to do so. Again, more power of the people. All right, almost another 100 years after the founding of the NAACP, almost 100 years, on February 12, 2004, we had the first legal same-sex marriage ceremony in the United States by these two lovely people, Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon. It was conducted by the then San Francisco mayor, Gavin Newsom. This one incident then began sort of a cascade effect, right? And 11 years later, the Supreme Court struck down all state bans on same-sex marriage, legalizing it in all 50 states. Now, that sounds like it just sort of happened, but most of us who are here living in it didn't actually happen exactly that way. It wasn't that easy. Just 6 months after Del and Phyllis's marriage, it was declared illegal by the California Supreme Court. 6 months. Can you imagine? Phyllis wrote, "Del is 83 years old and I am 79. After being together for more than 50 years, it's a terrible blow to have rights and protections of marriage taken away from us. At our age, we do not have the luxury of time." Can you imagine being told that your marriage is illegal? No longer valid? To have the guts to be first and then told that? How would you feel? I mean, they had gotten death threats for going against the status quo for most of their life. They've been battling for this for a long time, but that didn't stop them. They kept working at it along with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And they may have been the first, but their ability to boldly step into the limelight took an incredible amount of bravery that allowed others to follow. Their fear told them that they had to move forward. They had spent their life working on this issue, and by not stopping, they were symbols of the movement, not the movement itself, to create a better world for everyone to be who they are, to love who they want to love. And again, I see the power of the people in this. We hold these up as people, but they were backed by so many more. So this is February 12th. I'm beginning to think we should have February 12th is like Freedom Day or something. It's kind of amazing, all of these freedoms on this one day. So a lot of people don't like February. I always have because my birthday is in February. But I think this actually proves that February is an amazing month. Now, there's two things I take away from these stories. One is that a lot of people were brave and took risks, and they counted on and got the power of the people behind them. Darwin had Huxley, Du Bois had black and white, male and female allies. Dell and Phyllis had not only each other, but a whole movement behind them, including politicians. And this is how change happens. It isn't any individual really. I mean, we lift up these individuals, but it requires the power of the people. Now, to explain this, I'm going to show you a humorous, but I think very, has a lot of really interesting things to say about leadership and followership.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
I like to think of we Unitarian Universalists, we're those crazy nut people who are out there kind of waving. I mean, we're doing something so unique and different here as a church, trying to be welcoming to everybody in their thought and belief and all the different things that divide people. We're trying to get rid of them, right? Like, some people call us crazy that way. Like, okay, but we have enough and we have momentum. We're going, we're out there, right? We want to have freedom for everyone, for gender rights, for marriage rights, for racial justice, and we're not going to stop until everyone has the freedom to be who they are, to simply be, regardless of their gender, their race, who they love, what they believe. As Naya sang, or Layla sang from Madagascar, she said, all are welcome here. It's not God's nature to have favorites or segregate. All are equal. I want to say amen, sister. That might have been a very Christian hymn, but I love that it was used to say, hey, we're all in this together. But freedom or justice, it requires risk, and that's scary for both the leader and the follower. It requires that we listen to our fears and what they're telling us. I can imagine sitting on that slope as I'm listening to a concert, going, I'd really like to go up there, but I don't want to look ridiculous. That guy looks really silly. But then you saw everybody else coming in, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm going now, because I want to look ridiculous and have a fun time, right? So listen to those fears and what they're telling us of like, but Sean, you yearn to get up there and move and just have fun, right? To try not to run and hide, but to listen for that love in the dark whispering us to be brave. The last month, one thing I've noticed is that a number of people, whether they've been friends, they've been congregants, they've been colleagues, have been telling me how afraid they are for this world, right? Whether it's the environmental devastation or racial oppression or misogyny, whatever it is, and they worry deeply about our future as a nation. So to all of you who worry about our future as a nation, as a people, let me remind you that you're not alone. You're part of a movement. Listen to your fear. Listen to the love underneath that that's trying to come out. It's trying to tell you something. So let me end with these words by Amanda Gorman. She said, I'm a firm believer that often terror is trying to tell us of a force far greater than despair. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. And now more than ever, we have a right to be affected, afflicted, and affronted. If you're alive, you're afraid. If you're not afraid, you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. So let us bless this faith that calls us to be kind of a little crazy, to be brave, to take risks, but know that we are most powerful when we are a people who work together. Let us sing.
Please stand as you're able.
For faith that invites us to be who we are and to bring what we have to the table. For faith that delights in the work that we do and reminds us each day that we're able to choose life over death, trust over fear, and love over all that is hateful. For this faith we're eternally grateful. For a yes that is stronger than every last no, and that calls us without reservation. For a yes that is yearning for us to be whole, and that burns at the core of creation. In the peace and the hope we've come to know, the fullest abundance of treasure. For this yes we give thanks beyond measure. For a love that pursues us each day of our lives, and that gathers us up like a mother. For a love that renews us in darkness and light, and inspires the depth of our wonder. That is there in our pain, there in our loss, and there in our healing and ending. For this love we sing praise never ending.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and program of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are supporting Friends of Orange County's Homeless Pets. The mission of Friends of Orange County Homeless Pets is to make homeless and unwanted pets more adoptable and provide them the opportunity to find lifelong families. Here, Reverend Sean, who will share with us more about this organization.
So most of you know that this organization is near and dear to my heart because I've been fostering dogs since about this time last year. So this last year, these are the 5 dogs. I began with Felicia over there, who was a handicapped dog, and my dog had had surgery and had a ruptured disc, and so I knew how to take care of a handicapped dog. So I had her for about 5 months, and she was finally adopted, which is great. Most fosters don't take that long, but I just want to say, the thing is, I've never done rescue before, I've never worked with an organization, but I have to tell you, this organization is amazing. Anything I've needed, I mean, all that they poured into Felicia to try to see if they could get her walking again. She was going to acupuncture and physical therapy. I mean, it was really fascinating. Just anything that I needed, they hired. She was a barker, and so they gave me a trainer to help get her to stop barking so much and everything. All of these dogs, with the exception of Loki, were actually found left as dumped basically in the street. They find a lot of them out in San Bernardino Valley area, Riverside area out there. And there's literally people who go out driving looking for dogs, and then they try to find their homes first, particularly if they're microchipped or anything like that. But a lot of them are not. They're literally just dumped. And these are such sweet dogs. I can't even tell you how awesome they are. Frodo and Prince I almost kept, but I already have 2 dogs, so I really tell myself I can't have a third. So most of you know about Kaylee up there. By the way, she's gotten to the groomers finally after she had her 6 pups. The 6 pups are today 6 weeks old. I can barely believe it. They will be going up for adoption in another week or 2. So yes, for those of you who are interested. Kaylee is just such a sweetheart of a dog. I think she's a Skye Terrier. I have no idea why someone would dump her. But anyway, I just want to say that this organization is absolutely amazing. Anything I need, I text Cindy and she's immediately texting other people to find anything. I've donated a lot of time and money to help, but they give me everything from X pens to pee pads to food to toys, absolutely everything. So I just ask that if you can to give generously today. Thank you.
There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, use an app called Venco Mobile, or if you're a roomer, you can place your offering in a basket as you leave the service today. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
In singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share. You can stay seated. We gather together, we gather as one. Peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
We can change lives with what we share, even dog lives. I feel a little guilty. It's my personal thing, but thank you all. All right. Now is that time when we honor the important events and people in our lives, and you are invited, one and all, Whether you're a member, you're a friend, visitor, everyone is welcome to participate in this weekly ritual we call Joys and Sorrows. To begin, I'd like to invite Lori Kluge up here. She's one of our pastoral care team members, and she's going to assist us. So, all right, everybody take a deep breath, and maybe you've come here today holding something in your heart, close to your heart, moments from the last days, weeks, maybe hours, something that struck you at your core. If you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you are invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you are invited to come forward to light a candle. If you would like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it on a slip of paper that hopefully you were given when you first came in here, and then hand that to me. If you're a Zoomer, you're invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat, and then I will read those out loud as well so that everybody can hear them, and Lori will light a candle for you. So as the music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your beliefs. Please come forward and write in the chat. So Peggy Priver sent me an email. She says that she's grateful that her sister is recovering from extensive abdominal surgery. And she says, I'm also sad that no one can visit her, not even her family. She will remain in the hospitalized at least a week, so I'm messaging her photos from my daily walks. Randy would like a candle lit because he's celebrating that today is the 4-year anniversary of his cancer surgery, which I hope means all is well, Randy. And Ralph Holler would like a candle lit in thanks to Donna McCartney for leading us beautifully in our weekly meditation today. And Kathy Lewis, she says, a joy to see the rumors. She says, still only Zoom in Lancaster, UUC. So she's all the way out in Lancaster, PA, I believe. We're delighted to have you here, Kathy. Matthew would like a candle of joy. He said Alex's mother, that's his husband, and aunt gave us a nice new to us couch for our living room. It's a much needed item and will be blessing for my upcoming top surgery and recovery. Now to reorganize and clean up the rest of the apartment so everything fits. And Hannah Anderson has joined us from Minneapolis. She says, greetings everyone. So grateful to be here celebrating my new job after being laid off in December. She says a special thanks to Reverend Sean for all the support and advice. It's been really fun talking with her. Craig Preston says he has a joy. He says this opportunity came together to feel a life in community, joys and sorrows. He says he does have a sorrow that carbon emissions continue to pollute the atmosphere as we struggle with our addiction to fossil fuels, me included. We all struggle with that, Craig. Yeah. All right, and I want to let you know also Dave Hardenbrook sent me an email as well. Dave Hardenbrook's is a former member of this congregation who we love, and I think he still even dials in, so if you're with us, Dave. He says, I want the church to know that in the past week, my life has become a living hell. He moved up to Portland, for those of you who don't know. HR, he says, is dragging their feet and reimbursing me for the week I was out sick, and I'm in desperate financial place at the moment. He says, I have 2 major dental issues, and on top of everything else, yesterday, I was in an auto accident that totaled my car. He said, please feel free to contact me with prayers or supportive words. He says, I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. He says, I have major doubts about this whole move to Portland. I'm not sure I'm cracked up to live in a big, cold, unfriendly metropolis 1,000 miles away from everyone in the world I care about. I'm feeling very, very homesick for Orange County and OCUUC in particular. And I want you to know that the pastoral team is reaching out to him as well. But if you'd like to know or get in touch with Dave and you don't have his contact information, just send me an email or text and I'll get it to you. So Dave, if you're listening, we hope that you're doing okay. And I'm glad that at least in the accident that, you are okay. And that you're okay enough to type something to me. All right, I also want to, let's see here, we've got a couple here in the house. Let's see, Tom and Nancy Lockery. They lit a candle of joy, they said, for our grandson Ian, who is 12 today. You have a 12-year-old grandson, wow, that's cool. And Dave Carlson has a candle of joy, and I must say, pride, I believe. He says, Bradford Community Unitarian Universalist Church, where his son, the Reverend Eric David Carlson, is the senior minister, will place an Afghani family into their first American home in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Tuesday. Congratulations. That's wonderful. I want you to know that our team for an Afghan refugee family is now formed, and I'll be making an announcement about that in the future. And Sunny Harper, oh, bless her heart, she lit a candle. She says, my heart goes out to the people of Ukraine. Amen. Yeah. Well, I want to end today with a candle that would like to be lit by Shirley Thorne. She said, let me just make sure I've got everybody. Whoops. Let's see. Oh, Claudia, I'll make an announcement, Claudia, at the end about that. So let's see here. So Shirley Thorne sent in an email. She says, I had a wonderful big birthday celebration, 90, with my entire family, 3 offspring, 2 spouses, and 1 grandchild, all brought up in this church. The other grandchild is on a Fulbright in Italy, and the other missing husband is doing dog sitting in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She says, I feel so lucky to be part of them, as I missed out when I grew up. So, you know, Shirley, that we have a tradition in this church that when you hit 90 and above, we sing you happy birthday. So here's Craig to sing happy birthday to Shirley.
Everyone join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shirley. Happy birthday to you.
And many more. Shirley, that's absolutely amazing. We're glad you're here on this earth for 90 years. May there be 90 more. It's a little iffy, but we're hoping. All right, let us hold and love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they were spoken or they were silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. I invite you now into a spirit of prayer or meditation. This prayer is for the morning by Audette Fulbright Folsom. Did you rise this morning broken and hung over with weariness and pain and rage tattered from waving too long in a brutal wind? Get up, child. Pull your bones upright. Gather your skin and muscle into a patch of sun. Draw breath deep into your lungs. You will need it, for another day calls to you. I know you ache. I know you wish the work were done and you, with everyone you have ever loved, were on a distant shore, safe and unafraid. But remember this, tired as you are not alone. Here and even here, there are others weeping and rising and gathering their courage. You belong to them and they to you. And together we will break through and bend the arc of justice all the way down into our lives. Amen.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. And yet, when we gather together, whether we are in a room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you are a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to either write in the chat or stand for a brief moment and tell us your name and where you are from.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
Fabiola.
We've actually attended via Zoom a couple of times before, but this is our first time in person. And yeah, just came to see what it's like. We moved here a year and a half ago from Los Angeles area where we attended U Santa Monica.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello, hello. My name is Brooklyn. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I've lived in Minnesota almost my whole life. So now I'm here visiting with my grandparents for the week, and I'm really happy to be here. I've never been to a church like this before. I really like it, so thank you for having me.
Welcome. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at blast@ocuuc.org. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community. So please reach out and we will help you get connected. After the service, we will have a short period where everyone, roomers and Zoomers alike, can wave and say hello and welcome any visitors. The Zoomers who will remain will be placed into Zoom breakout groups for 20 minutes or so. We invite you to check in and get to know people in your group.
All right, and announcements. I want to point out a couple things. First of all, Our very own Christy Montgomery, I believe, made these. These are little decals you can put on your car, and it says many different beliefs, one loving community, ocuuc.org. So these are decals for your car that we got made. We've been waiting a long time to give these out to y'all, so we would love to do that. If you would like to have this decal for your car, I'll leave this basket up here for Zoomers. If you would like to have one, first of all, we're going to have it here for the next few weeks. If you plan on coming in, we'll have them here. But if you know that you're not going to be able to come in, but I'm sure some of you 40 out there will do that. But if you can't, by all means, contact Sarah Jones, our administrator, and she will have one sent to you. So I'll leave those there. The other thing is, this last Saturday was Freedom Saturday. Next Saturday, the 19th, is going to be like Fun Church Saturday. So put it on your calendar. Next Saturday, come here to the church, particularly in the morning. We're having 2 big events that are going on. So depending on what your abilities and likes are, we've got a wonderful work party because for those of you who don't know, we are going to be tearing down that building next door and building a new sanctuary, but we got stuff in it. And we got to move things around. So we have a little work party going on to do that at OCUC on Saturday. And then also Stitchwitz is doing a community sew day. So they're going to be basically, if you can sew, you can knit, you can do any craft that you would like. But it's going to be a really fun day here on Saturday. So whatever your decision, it's a great way to get to know people in the community. But come on out here and try to plan to be here next Saturday. That would be totally awesome. All right. Oh, by the way, coffee and donuts will be provided and Subway sandwiches for lunch. So as they say, many hands make light work. Come along and everybody will be working together. There's no party like a work party, right? Ho, ho, ho. Okay, there's nobody like, okay, I'm sorry, going out of hand here. All right, let us now sing our brand new benediction.
Please join me in Rise and we'll sing our final song. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. One more time. Let us go out, and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Thank you.
All right, let us go out with joy and bravery. We are an awesome denomination. This service is over. Let our service continue.